Donald Trump and his authoritarian bud Nayib Bukele in El Salvador were checkmated. They were checkmated by the federal courts, by the Supreme Court, by the pressure of the people, and by Democratic Senator Van Hollen from Maryland, who went to El Salvador and invoked international law applying the pressure to El Salvador, which, despite Nayib Bukele wanting to make it seem like it's this grandiose leader of the world, is a poor Latin American country that does about $34 billion in GDP annually, has a 25% poverty rate, has about 10 to 12% people living in extreme poverty. But the reason Trump loves Bukele, the highest incarceration rate per capita anywhere in the world, and now as Donald Trump was kidnapping migrants without due process and shipping them to El Salvador concentration camps. This week started, remember, with Bukele and Trump saying, there's nothing we can do. This is just how it is. We can't do anything at all. Well, there were signs of life from Abrego Garcia, who met with Senator Chris Van Hollen of Maryland. He took photos with Abrego. And now Donald Trump and Bukele, they're trying to play this like checkmate. This was our plan all along, right? Right, Donald. Like, your plan all along was to also tariff the world with fake formulas using trade deficits as a way to calculate reciprocal tariffs, piss off the world, crash the American economy, not cut deals, and say that's the art of the deal when you manipulate the market, do a temporary pause on tariffs against most nations, except it's not really the case because then you put other tariffs, but then raise your tariffs against China to 245%, right? It's all part of the deal. It's all part of the scheme that they've all worked up from the beginning. So utterly ridiculous. So, by our reporting from yesterday, we were one of the first to report on this on our YouTube channel. This post from Senator Chris Van Hollen. He said, I said my main goal of his trip to El Salvador was to meet with Kilmar. That's Abrego Garcia. Tonight, I had that chance. I have called his wife, Jennifer, to pass along his message of love. I look forward to providing a full update upon my return. I just want to be clear again. Abrego Garcia, no criminal history, was not entitled to due process. An immigration judge in 2019, during Trump's first administration, issued a withholding order saying he can't be sent to El Salvador. If you believe he's a big MS-13 gang member, then why in 2019, 2020, when the Trump administration was in power, they would just let him go back to work in Maryland, where he was there for, about a decade with an American wife and 3 kids. Does that make any sense to you at all whatsoever? The Supreme Court ruled 9-0 facilitate his return, but the Trump regime was sticking their middle finger in the face of the Supreme Court and federal judges, but it looks like they cracked, and it looks like the federal judges did this the right way. Judge Zenas in Maryland providing a process for the facilitation, making sure not to get reversed by the Supreme Court by overstepping the executive branch. Facilitate means facilitate. Show us the steps you're taking there, Donald. Another district court judge in Washington, D.C., Judge Boasberg, issues a criminal contempt finding against Trump regime lawyers and State Department officials and others regarding all of the other migrants that Donald Trump kidnapped, shipped to El Salvador with no due process against the court's order there. Then the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals, which sits over and supervises the district court in Maryland, issued this scathing ruling. A judge who was a Reagan-appointed judge, Judge Wilkinson, was the author of this unanimous opinion, saying this case is not a complicated one. You're kidnapping people and sending them to foreign countries without due process. That's not allowed in the United States, Donald. Follow the Supreme Court's order. And then, Trump has his memes. This is from the official Trump War Room account. This account is officially tied to Donald Trump. So they're mocking Chris Van Hollen. They did a AI image of him bald with MS-13 tattoos on him. But ultimately, Chris Van Hollen got to meet with Abrego Garcia. And now here's what Nayib Bukele posted. He goes, now that first he posted the following. Kilmar Abrego Garcia, miraculously risen from the death camps and torture, now sipping margaritas with Senator Van Hollen in the tropical paradise of El Salvador. And then he does like a margarita emoji. And then because these authoritarians can't control themselves, it's just like a constant like social media post. It's like, dude, just relax. Nayib Bukele then reposts because they crave attention. Now that he's been confirmed healthy, he gets the honor of staying in El Salvador's custody. And then he kept like reposting people like this Lena account. I think a president just single-handedly trolled legacy media machine. I think a president just single-handedly trolled the entire legacy media machine. What's the troll? That you kidnapped a human being and threw him in an extermination camp, and then when you were ordered to facilitate the return, you've temporarily showed signs of life. That, oh man, everyone's been trolled. What a troll. Then he reposts this. Now they call this checkmate. What's the checkmate here? The checkmate, you think you checkmate? Who'd you checkmate? Y'all were trying to hide this guy. That was all part of the plan now, wasn't it? So now it'll be interesting for the DOJ lawyers to try to claim they cannot facilitate his return. Trust me, Abrego Garcia's lawyers are filing, as we speak, a motion with the court saying, you see, they were able to facilitate that. Now facilitate his return. There was also other good news yesterday that started with tragic news where a U.S.-born man was held with ICE under Florida's new anti-immigration law. A Leon County judge says he was obliged to ignore documented proof that Juan Carlos Lopez Gomez, a 20-year-old U.S. citizen, was a U.S. citizen, and they kept him in an ICE detention center. Protests started. People started rising up, and then they released Juan Carlos Lopez Gomez before the 48-hour hold. You see, folks, your pressure is working. The federal courts are working. Fighters are working right now. And by the way, how laughable is just this Elon Musk Doge? I shouldn't say it's laughable because of the destruction that they're causing in the hostile takeover. The way I should reflect about how ridiculous, absurd, false their allegations that they've reduced federal spending. Federal spending is up right now. There's more federal spending right now than there was under former President Biden. Also, there were more deportations under former President Biden than under Donald Trump. And you may go, how is that possible? Trump is doing it cruelly against the wrong people and torturing people without due process. Biden went about the process, ran a complex infrastructure, and people who had criminal records would get deported quietly. He wouldn't make a show of cosplay torture out of it. It would just happen. More deportations under Biden. So what's with all of this going on? What's Donald Trump doing? Well, Trump was in the Oval Office talking about Howard Lutnick with Donald Trump talking about fishermen thriving. Here, play this clip.
With your leadership and your trading policies, we're going to open all of these markets and we're going to let our fishermen thrive and prosper. And we are going to have lower cost fish, more of it, and the freshest fish in the world. And this is just common sense for the United States of America.
As our editor-in-chief, Ron Filipkowski, writes, so 2 weeks ago, Nutlick, that's what he calls Howard Lutnick, 2 weeks ago, Nutlick had us all doing robot maintenance. Last week, he had us all screwing stuff into iPhones, but now we are going to be catching fish in Samoa instead. Ron always knows how to say it in a witty way. And then here, you have Donald Trump in the Oval Office responding to someone saying, it's an ice fishery. It's been around since the 1900s. Donald Trump then responds, so that means it's been around for millions of years? Play this clip.
Our fishery fishes for the sashimi quality fish, so it's all fresh. It's an ice fishery, and it's been around since what started in the early 1900s. And
well, it's been around for millions of years.
Right, exactly.
Long before us.
Right, exactly.
That's great.
So, that's where you're getting your sashimi and your swordfish from.
Also, shout out to Canada, elbows up. They had their debate last night. The night before was in French. Last night was in English. And here, Prime Minister Mark Carney for the Liberal Party surging ahead. Here he talks about Trump being the biggest risk to the economy. Play this clip.
The biggest risk we have to affordability, the biggest risk we have to this economy is Donald Trump. So first and foremost, we've got to get that right. Second.
Okay, and one more note from the debate between Prime Minister Carney and MAGA Maple himself, Pierre Poilievre. Just watch this moment, and Carney, look at Carney's face. Play this clip.
But when the government made this recent offer, they said that if I got the secret security clearance briefings, that I would be gagged under the security.
You tell me what you heard there. And here, Prime Minister Carney is again. Play this clip.
We are facing the biggest crisis of our lifetimes. Donald Trump is trying to fundamentally change the world economy, the trading system. But really what he's trying to do to Canada, he's trying to break us so the U.S. can own us. They want our land, they want our resources, they want our water, they want our country. And we're all going to stand up against Donald Trump. I'm ready. I've managed crises over the years. I've built strong economies. We will fight back with counter tariffs. We will protect our workers and those businesses, and we will build the strongest economy. We will build Canada strong. I'm asking for your support, the honor of doing so. Thank you.
Powerful stuff, folks. We'll keep you posted every step of the way. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Check out store.MeidasTouch.com. We got Maple Midas gear, 100% made, manufactured, distributed in Canada. Also at store.MeidasTouch.com. We got a lot of other great gear as well. Also check out MeidasPlus.com, MEIDASPLUS.com, MeidasPlus.com. Check it out. That's where our editor-in-chief, Ron Filipkowski, cooks. Thanks for watching. Have a good one, everybody.
New Midas merch drop. Check out the latest pro-democracy sticker packs, t-shirts, hats, sweatshirts, and more. All at store.MeidasTouch.com.